Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sean, back with you again. I wanted to make this one before I got before I got too tired. Um, Today I wanted to talk about two things. The first of which was something I wanted to talk about a couple weeks ago, but didn't get a chance to, and that is about the movie theater shooting that happened in Colorado at the midnight premiere of The Dark Knight Rises. Um, I don't know. I have to admit, when I saw that, I said to myself, or when I heard that it happened, I said to myself, okay, we have the new Columbine. We have the next Waco. We have the next Virginia Tech. We have the next um, school shooting, for lack of a better term. Because when I was watching the news coverage, this is like maybe the day after it took place. Like every major news network was covering this, and one of the things that I heard from the report was that I don't know the guy's name, but he apparently went out of the theater. Like there's a side door. He goes out of the theater, gets his ammunition, his arms, all that shit, goes back in, fires off some rounds into the ceiling, gets everyone's attention, and then starts to shoot everyone. So what that told me is that he was looking for attention, and what he effectively got is what he was aiming for, because every major news network in the days following, and even still probably for the rest of the summer, are going to be talking about this guy, because he's currently, I don't know if he's facing trial, but I'm sure at some point he's obviously going to get charged for first degree murder of some sort. He killed 12 people. But it just seemed kind of funny how everyone, like even Facebook, there were several pictures I saw where it was a collage of the people who were killed, 12 pictures, and it said in memory of the Colorado massacre. And I don't know, I've never understood why people like to glorify stuff like that. It's never made much sense to me, because the whole reason why that guy shot up the movie theater like he did was for attention. He wanted for lack of a better term, a release of some degree. And so now, whenever he goes onto Facebook and he's going to see these memorial pictures of these people he killed, it's going to give him, to a degree, satisfaction for what he's done. He's going to say, like, damn, I actually did something. In his mind, is cool. So I don't know, but it's hard for the media not to grab onto something that's depressing and violent and gory, this and that. Like I've seen a couple pictures even alongside these memorial pictures where it was, I know that there was like 2 or 3 of the victims were girls, and they were there with their boyfriends. And I heard that these boyfriends apparently tried to shield their girlfriends from getting shot, which makes sense. Don't get me wrong. That's what any loving spouse or loving significant other would do for someone in that predicament. It just, I don't know, it seemed different, the fact that Facebook is effectively glorifying and the media is glorifying what happened. If they had not picked up on this whatsoever, if they had just left this alone, left the families in peace, not said a word about this, he wouldn't be famous. But this guy is going to go down in history for doing what he did. And like to think of it this way, it started with schools. You've got like businesses and places it's not a shooting, but stuff like 9/11, the subway city bombings in London that happened a couple years ago, the Oklahoma City bombings back in the 90s. It all kind of categorizes. It's not just shootings or bombings. It's all the same thing. So to glorify this, you're giving the people who want the attention that attention. And you're just going to be adding on a list of other stupid shit. Like, eventually you're going to have shootings. And I remember George Carlin was talking about school shootings, and one of the jokes he said, eventually you're going to have shootings happening in churches, which, in all honesty, the way that the world is going right now, especially Western civilization, it would not surprise me if that was to happen. Some guy just fucking goes Rambo and fucking offs a priest or a pastor and the entire fucking congregation. It's going to happen at some point in time. So that's just my 2 pieces on that. And the other piece I wanted to address was something that's been brought up in the past, mainly by comedians who I like to listen to, like Bill Hicks and George Carlin, Doug Stanhope, Louis C.K., guys like that. They always talk about how children are overrated. George Carlin referred to it as child worshipping, for lack of a better term. And I was talking with one of my friends. I was playing some Call of Duty, and I was in a party with some friends of mine, and we got on the topic, of the Colorado shootings, and I brought up the point of how there was apparently like a young girl. I don't know how old she was, 7 or 8 or whatever the fuck, who got shot. And the instant that a young person, and I'm talking under the age of, I don't know, 13 maybe would be a good benchmark. Anytime they're involved with school shooting, with violence, with anything that's really messed up, people just blow the whole situation so out of proportion, it's comical. Like, it's like Bill Hicks said, he was talking about one of his stand-ups, how, about Waco, and how there was apparently kids who were killed in Waco, and he was saying, oh, children, how many children were killed in Waco? And his comment was, and this was in part to the people who were saying that children shouldn't have died in the first place. He's like, so does that mean that once they reach an age, they're off your love list? In the sense that he said that you should either love people of all kinds, regardless of race, sex, culture, age, or whatever, or don't love them at all. So the fact that there are people out there who put so much, I guess, affluence behind children just seems so stupid. It just doesn't make any sense to me sometimes. So that's my bit about the whole shooting. My other point was, it was not as dramatic as a point as that one, but it's the whole Olympics in London right now. Definitely interesting. I was watching some of it. All I've seen from it so far is the men's beach volleyball. In case you're wondering, I am Canadian, and it was actually funny yesterday. I watched the Norwegian men's volleyball team beat the Canadian team 2-0, which is like, woohoo, don't really care if the Canadians lost. And then today, Michael Phelps, who I wasn't really aware of until just recently, apparently has broken some record for the most number of medals won in the Olympics. He has like 19, I think. And they're dubbing him the world's greatest Olympian of all time, which seems that it was bound to happen in this day and age. With all this technology we have, with how intense the athletes train before these Olympics start, it's kind of funny to see, I was watching, he was in the, it was the 200-meter breaststroke, I believe it was. And it was like a doubles competition where you'd have one guy would go out, do his fucking laps, and then Michael Phelps would dive off and do his fucking laps. And then when he was the last one to go, so obviously he won. But it was funny to look at the other countries that were on the scoreboard, because there was countries who you would never expect would have that good of a Olympic team of any degree. Maybe they would be better off in like a certain time of year. Like obviously it's just Summer and Winter Olympics. But there was countries like South Africa. There was countries. Man, there was about 10 countries listed in the final standings for that competition, and I thought to myself, how many of these countries actually get the funding to do a proper training for these Olympians? Like I was always under the impression that the Olympics were an evenly matched sport from country to country, but that's not the case, because if you look over the past, oh man, I'm going to say at least 15, if not 20 years, if not longer. If you look at the standings in terms of which countries have won the most consecutive medals, you're going to see countries like Britain's going to be on that list. Canada's going to be on that list. I think the U.S. actually tops the list. No surprise there. So it seems to me that it's the predominantly white countries that seem to be the best at the best, which again, I'm not saying it doesn't surprise me. It just seems like it's not really fair to these other small countries when they only specialize in one certain thing. Like I remember I think it was the Beijing Olympics that they brought out Usain Bolt. So in that situation, like South Africa and Ethiopia, they're known for having their sprinters. They're known for that. Like a lot of them run the I think it's called the Boston Marathon. I think it's called. They've actually sent over Ethiopian guys to run the Boston Marathon, and you're talking guys who are like 6 feet tall. They weigh like 120 pounds, and they're fucking just. They're not even strong. They just have a lot of endurance because they probably sprint across the safaris and shit like that. But that's probably that probably was a bad thing to say. But yeah, watching that, it was interesting to say the least. I've never really been a fan of the Olympics or of any sport where they have countries competing against each other. And by no means, excuse me. By no means am I rooting, or have I ever rooted for the Canadian team. I might be Canadian, yes, but my views on nationalism are something that's angered people in the past, I suppose. I'm not even that big of a fan of Canada, to be honest with you. It doesn't really do a heck of a lot for me. As Doug Stanhope says, nationalism is just a way to make you hate people you haven't met already, which is totally true. So yeah, I just wanted to get that thought up. I was going to do this video earlier today, but I had my friends come over and we were doing shit and whatnot. So yeah, that's the video for today. Hope you enjoy.